Hi everyone, Rich Bolt here, your host of Real Talk New Jersey Real Estate Insights. On today's podcast, we're joined by Tiffanie Hawley of Hawleywood Homes at Century 21 Action Plus Realty. She's a top producing agent known for a client-first approach and deep local expertise in Bordentown, Hamilton, and across South Jersey. Let's dive into how she built her brand and serves her clients at the highest level. Welcome, Tiffanie. We're happy to have you. Just wanted to start off with what inspired you to get into the real estate industry, and what made you choose the Bordentown, Hamilton area in particular?
So I naturally was a teacher first, and I liked teaching, I liked educating, and then as time grew on, I got a little bit into some multi-marketing direct sales. I did some makeup sales, did some jewelry sales, and ended up being in the top 1% of both of those companies.
Nice.
But yeah, it was a great experience. It's not for me. I don't wear any makeup really, and jewelry I like some, but not. There's only so much one person can have.
Yep.
So I thought the natural progression, if I enjoyed sales and I enjoyed teaching, was real estate. And I had a friend who worked at Chickies and Pete's that was a bartender. I was waitressing there. I was teaching, working 18 other jobs. And I was watching what he was doing, and I was very impressed. And I thought it was a great way to help people, and in a more meaningful, impactful way than jewelry and makeup at the time.
Yes, definitely a much bigger life purchase than jewelry and makeup.
Yeah, it certainly changed people's lives when they bought a home, yes. Opposed to earrings.
Yes. Yeah, I don't hear too many big life stories about buying earrings.
No, not typically.
But buying your first home can be a huge step, and definitely something very, very exciting to help people out with. I enjoy it myself. So how has your deep familiarity with South Jersey shaped your approach on serving buyers and sellers?
So I'm from Hamilton Township. I was born in East Windsor Heights town area, which I don't know if anybody even really knows, but I only lived there for the first year of my life. I don't remember it. Then moved to Hamilton. I grew up in Hamilton, lived there my entire life, but went to college in the Poconos in East Stroudsburg, and naturally gravitated back here. So just very familiar with the area. Bought my first home in Hamilton and now live in Chesterfield. So I've just kind of progressed, I think, naturally a little further south because I could afford more as a first-time home buyer, which I'm seeing in my own market now with first-time home buyers from the Hamilton.
Yeah, South Jersey, you get more for your buck.
A little more bang.
Yeah, and the taxes tend to be a little bit less, but not always. But
yeah, I always say if you want to know where good taxes are, ask a realtor. I live in North Hanover. I say Chesterfield, but North Hanover, we're subsidized by Fort Dix. So my taxes are way less than they were in Hamilton.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've received consistent praise for your responsiveness and client-first approach. How do you maintain that high level of service across dozens of transactions?
Yeah, lots of practice, lots of mistakes along the way, but then being very humble. And something that I learned in teaching was to reflect on a lesson: what went right, what went wrong. And so I've definitely taken that approach in real estate. What can I do better? How can I make, if I've made a mistake and someone didn't understand something like attorney review, how can I make that better for the next person? So thankfully, my friends and family helped me through the first ones where I learned. And now we have a really great system in place. Definitely not perfect. There's still reflection always going on, but how can I make it streamlined? How can I make my buyers and my sellers feel like they know every part, whether it's good or bad, what's going on? So I think that we've really worked on that through reflection.
Yeah, the coaching program that I'm a part of, one of the things that they suggested sending out a survey in the middle of the transaction and at the end. So I'm thinking about incorporating that, like, what could I do better? What did you like? What did you not like about how we handled the transaction? Sometimes it might be a little bit of a gut punch, but
that's how you get better.
you always want to learn and get better. Exactly.
I love that through the middle of the transaction. That's a good check-in point.
Yeah, because that way, if it is going sideways, you don't get a bad review at the end. You have an opportunity to fix it and make it better and make them comfortable with you. So
I love that.
So, how do you assess and address each client's unique priorities, whether they're relocating first-time home buyers or experienced sellers?
So whenever, I guess with buyers first, if I attack that, and same with sellers, that we're going to have a sit down, like a formal or informal, depending on who it is. I have sheets that I can take notes on. Sometimes people just want to talk, and I think listening is definitely the key aspect in that. And I do take notes while I'm doing it because I'm certainly not going to remember everything. I am smart, but not that smart. And so I try to take notes on what their needs are. Really important things that I think that helps is writing down, if you're doing a phone call, what their husband's name is, what their wife's name is, their children. Like, so that way when I go and meet with them in person, I know personal things about them.
Yep.
So I really think that's important. And then that also helps with moving forward with if they're shopping for a home, I will send them, I don't send anyone a mass list of listings. I just think it's very impersonal. So I take the time to go through daily and pick listings that I think fit their needs. Some people want that big list. I think it's a lot. And I just ask them to give me feedback. Does this house work for you? Does it not? Please feel free to email me back and tell me that you hate this house and I picked the worst house possible. So
yeah, I love that. Sometimes you can get too overwhelmed with too much information. It's like when I'm watching programs with my kids and they're on all these different apps and stuff like that. I'm like, just put the game show network on. Like, there's too many choices here.
Yeah, and then I feel like if you're watching it, you just scroll through all the previews. You don't watching anything because
exactly. So I love that strategy. So what's your strategy when pricing and marketing homes in mixed markets like Hamilton Square versus Trenton?
It definitely, I think, matters on where you're listing for sure. So in a market where I think Hamilton is still thriving, where we've seen it's still bidding wars, not as much as like a year or two ago, but we're still seeing that competition there. Yep. But they're for homes priced aggressively. And I will say that if a seller is listening, and my goal is obviously to get the top dollar for my seller, right? That's the goal here. Yep. But listing at the high number, we can't keep going up and up, because what happens is a home sells, and then the next home lists at that price, and then it went higher, and it just kept going. And there's got to be an end to that. Yep. So aggressively listing a little bit under where we think it's going to sell and seeing what the market will do. Yeah. However, in a market where we're saturated a little bit more, in Trenton, I think Robbinsville has hit its peak. I mean, depending on where we are, listing high is definitely not the way to go. A little bit more under at that point, so that we can drive that interest still. Because as well as I do, if the listing is sitting for even 14 days, people are like, oh, what's wrong with it? I can probably get a steal on this now.
Yeah, exactly. I've been noticing that too, because I go into different areas and look at what's selling and whatnot. And I have been seeing some more homes being listed on there for longer periods of time lately. Right. So it seems to be very localized. Like some markets, they're just moving like crazy. There's not enough inventory. Some areas are starting to move up a little bit in the inventory numbers. So
I agree.
Could you walk us through the process of helping your clients relocate? I know you do deal with a lot of military families, and how that differs from a typical home buyer.
It really depends on the situation. Some people have to move rather quickly. So when that happens, I almost become a property manager for their property, where I'm taking care of it as they go. But if we just have someone who we moved to a lovely place called Sandwich, Illinois, which I had never heard of before. But it was a military family as well. And they needed to go very quickly. So we quickly interviewed agents in that area. I'm probably the toughest interviewer, because I want to make sure that they're going to be living up to my expectations. Not necessarily that buyer, but we get them in touch right away. We get their home on the market if they do own here, and we get them moving right away. Because a lot of times it is very quick. They get their orders to move, and it's much quicker than they would anticipate.
Yeah. Most regular people have a little bit more time. The military tells you to go, you got to go.
You got to go. Yep, you have to be there, and they need you there by a certain time.
Yep.
So,
yep. Yeah. What are the local market trends that you're seeing in Mercer and Burlington County?
So again, I think Mercer, and I think you're North Jersey, right, Richard?
Yeah. I'm in Somerset County.
Yeah. So I feel like those counties are still moving at a much faster pace. Well, the ones that are priced accurately, right? Mercer County, I think, is still moving very, very well. Burlington is as well, but it's slowing down a little bit in Burlington County. We're seeing more inventory, which is also a really good thing. Buyers have more than 30 seconds to look at a house and decide that they want to buy it. So I think for our buyers, it's a really nice thing. Even for the sellers, everyone gets to take a deep breath. Mercer County, it's hit or miss. It depends on what it's priced at and where it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've had some buyers. It's like, the house has just been on the market for a couple, 3 days. I was seeing it and it'd be like, oh, we want highest and best by tomorrow. And I'm like,
Yeah.
holy cow, like, you just listed it
You're
like
like, how long do I have? Oh,
4 minutes
24
ago.
hours? Okay, yeah. Oh, you have 7 offers. Great.
Yeah. So it'd be nice to see that calm down a little bit and not so much pressure on people. So
I agree.
to pull the trigger and potentially make bad decisions by making rush decisions. So
I agree.
any tips you have for first time home buyers in New Jersey and potentially now South Carolina?
Well, you know what when I talk to my first time home buyers, I'm like, I'd much rather you pay your own mortgage than someone else's. So if you financially feel comfortable, always talk to a loan officer first. If you are not blessed with cash, right?
Yes.
Talk to a loan officer first. Make sure the numbers make sense, right? It doesn't matter necessarily. And I always say this to first time home buyers, you can be approved for $1 million. It doesn't mean you want to pay that mortgage payment. So that's going to be the most important thing you can do first, is figure out what comfortable payment you are comfortable with. And then from there, we can figure it out. And then honestly, the way that it's been right now with a first time home buyer, if you can get in and you can be comfortable, and rates do go down at some point, and historically they will, then you can be even more comfortable moving forward in your home and you feel equity.
Exactly. I always tell people, like, just because I get you pre-approved for a certain number, that doesn't mean you're going to be comfortable making that. You have to live, that has to fit within your lifestyle. Just because the numbers work and you can get the loan doesn't mean it's a good fit for you. So like, if you're not comfortable at that payment, you need to, downgrade where you want to be, figure it back into a payment that you are comfortable with, and look in that price range. Sometimes people, that I find that a lot of times you pre-approve them for 400 and they start right at 400, where maybe you start a little lower, because it's easier to start looking at things that are a little higher priced if you can qualify for it and you're still comfortable with it. But when you look at the higher ones and then like you figure out, oh, well, that house isn't in my budget. Now I got to look at, something at 325.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, I don't like this house. It's not as nice as that 400.
Of course it's not.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so I know when we spoken the other day, you were doing your South Carolina licensing stuff.
Yep. So I practice what I preach with and I use real estate as a way for myself to also build equity for my future. So I own 2 properties in Surfside Beach in South Carolina.
Okay.
During the pandemic, we went there and I fell in love with the property there, and I loved it. And we purchased our first one in 2021. So from there, I fell even more in love with the area. And I have now moved. My mother has a house there. My in-laws, like, we're just, moving people slowly down to South Carolina. But then I saw a trend. I moved 3 neighbors out of my neighborhood to South Carolina, where I was referring them business. And more people asked me if I could get my license there, because they wanted me to help them with the buying process as well. So, because I help sell here. So I figured, fortunately, I can hop on a flight at Atlantic City and be there in 55 minutes. And I fly right into Myrtle Beach. And that is right where we are. And I can help the buyers in that area. We will likely retire there. That's like the goal. And those 2 properties that we have right now, hopefully more, and as the future grows, will be our income as we retire.
So for right now, you're going to split your focus, but eventually you're going to move down to South Carolina full time.
Correct. Yep. That, and developing a team here. And I think this leads into like other questions that, we kind of discussed, but developing a team here. I have such a strong base in New Jersey, and I really focused on creating a strong base for this team that I can leave here. And I feel very confident that anything I'm working on, they can reach me, right? I'm reachable by phone, but anything I'm working on will not skip a beat if I do have to fly to South Carolina, which I have to fly already mid-July for a buyer. So, that's the things that will happen. But because I'm so strong here, I think it'll allow me some expansion into the Carolina area.
That's how you have a good business, when you know that it doesn't rely on you always being the one main focal point. Like you're there and available for people, but you don't have to be the be all end all for everything. Like the business doesn't stop when you're not.
No, I trust them when I'm not here.
Awesome. So yeah, it gets into my next question.
I know. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm like sticking around for it.
How does Hawleywood Homes team leverage their structure, tech, and marketing strategies to stay ahead of today's competitive market?
So we have a lot of different types of things that we do. Really, social media, obviously, but I'm very strong into that. I believe that my career started well with social media because of the multi-marketing and direct sales I did. They required you to do, well, they didn't require it, but if you wanted to do it, that's the way you were reaching people. And then especially during the pandemic, because you weren't face to face, it became a natural part of my business. So I teach that to everyone. So like learning videos and content and really working on that has been something everyone is focused on. It's how we're reaching our newer buyers, right? That, our millennials, our Gen Zs who are going to be buying. It's important that we can reach them on multiple platforms, because I don't think it's going to be the neighbor next door where I just meet them face to face as time goes on. So we've been really focusing on that. Our marketing, I think we do really well. We've really branded ourselves as Hawleywood Homes. As we expand, it'll be Hawleywood of the East Coast. So that's kind of like the vision moving forward. And obviously Hawley's my last name, so I really, dove into it deep. I think our symbol is more recognizable. People actually know our logo, things like that have been going on. We also do what's called Ready for a Yeti. And it's a contest through our clients where we take a koozie there. I could grab one, but I'd have to get up. But I have a koozie that says Hawleywood Homes on it. We send it to all our clients, families, and friends. And from Memorial Day to Labor Day, they can post pictures across any social media platform and tag us in it.
Oh, nice.
At the end of Labor Day, we choose the top 20 pictures, we post them, and then we let social media vote for their favorite photo that was taken over the summer.
I love that.
That person wins a Yeti cooler, and we give it away at our client appreciation event in the fall. So we have it we very much streamlined it. This is our 6th year doing it. So people really get into it. We get some very creative photos. We get some unusual photos too. but it's nice. So our clients started marketing and advertising for us without even knowing that they're doing it.
That is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
That is really good, because instead of one to one, you're doing one to many, and the more tentacles you have out there, the more people you're reaching. So
Yep. And it's exciting. And I mean, for us to market throughout the summer, we don't do any client appreciation events during this time, just because people are traveling. It's really, I'm traveling too. I'm going to go away. It's amazing. I will take a vacation this summer, but so it just gives everybody the ability to keep us top of mind, as they say, or in the forefront of, like, if you need a realtor, reach out to Tiffanie and Hawleywood Homes. They'll help you out, because they have the koozies. They're seeing it, they're touching it, they're feeling it, and then they're posting about it too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So your Zillow tagline says making people happy. Can you share a story or a transaction that you truly embodied that mission?
Yeah, there's a lot. So when I was trying to think of this, and there's probably 2 that I can give that are quick in different scenarios. One is a first time home buyer, and one is a team member now. Both coming from, I taught in Trenton. So I taught in Trenton for 18 years. And my first year teaching was challenging. I mean, that's probably an understatement. And the whole career was challenging in its own way, but I got better as time went on. Reflection, right? And so this wonderful girl that I met my first year, she was an 8th grader. Her name was Shapri Barlow, and she was just one of the most wonderful, kindest students. And it was great because not everybody was like that. So I think I was 22 years old, right? And I'm not much older than these kids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, they were not really listening. So anyway, she was lovely. And then as my real estate career grew, she graduated. I had her brothers and sisters. We remained in touch. And I helped her and her husband find their first home and help them purchase. And that was just watching her grow and remaining in touch with her for so long and she's truly happy. They're still there to this day.
Awesome.
I'm sure they have built $1 billion in equity at this point, right? So they're doing just really, really well. And we got to use a first time home buyer grant. So very little money came out of pocket for them to do this. And they're just flourishing. And then fast forward to last year, this other lovely gentleman that I taught, his name is Talik. He decided he turned 21 on Sunday. We're having a party for him today. But he decided he wanted to become a realtor because he was watching me through social media. And he said, naturally, you were my teacher since I was in preschool. So now it made sense that I would join your real estate team. And he is he is 1 year in now doing tremendously well. So making people happy in so many different ways. And it really is, it's part of my personality. I want everyone around me to be happy. And that's like my go-to. I'm a people pleaser.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. As a team leader, what personal values do you emphasize and how do you nurture a strong team culture?
So I guess I'm very compassionate. I know everyone has a lot going on, different trials, tribulations. And I think that's also from teaching in an inner city too, and learning, different backgrounds and where people are coming from. And even though I'm having a bad day, it doesn't mean you're not having a worse day and where you came from. So really being compassionate. But while being compassionate, I am very focused on hard work. This is a job where you could do nothing all day if you so chose to, right? I am the only person here at this office today. No one else is here. I'm sure they're working in their own way, but that is something is that I'm going to lead by example with my hard work. I make sure I am the first one here and I'm the last one to leave. And although this is a 24/7 business, I am available to a certain extent. And I do take some time for my family too, because that's very important.
Yes, it's always important to have family time too.
Yep.
Awesome. So I think we covered a little bit about your goals for the future. I think we know you're going into South Carolina, but you talked East Coast. So are you thinking other states as well?
Most likely,
The whole north to south? Or?
Pennsylvania is next, even though that's not on the coast. Pennsylvania and Delaware. We do have a lot of families that move there too.
Yep.
So that is the next one. We had a young lady on our team who was Pennsylvania licensed, but she did so great that she's now out on her own. She still works with us here at our office, but is an independent agent. So really good stuff happening. So we need Pennsylvania. I naturally will also get North Carolina because there's reciprocity in South Carolina. So I think more East Coast than I had intended originally when I started this.
Awesome. Any other final thoughts that you wanted to share with us, Tiffanie?
I don't know. I mean, I love what I do. I know realtors have been getting a bad rap recently with that. We make all this money and we don't work really hard. I assure you, I work way more hours doing than I did.
I know. If you add up all the things that you do over a day and you build them on an hourly basis and hand them the bill, holy cow.
Yeah, it's wild. I think if they're, whoever's listening to this, first time home buyers, new agents, whatever, it is not something that you're going to be successful at in the first year. I simultaneously taught for 8 years while I did real estate and built this. So there was a lot of long nights, midnight, 1 a.m. because I had to in order to do what I was doing. So if you can put in the hard work, and that's when I did my work was after school hours, and you can do it, you can certainly build a business and it can be a very successful one, but I think you get in or get out what you put in. So
Awesome. It was great having you. How can people reach out to you and your team? What's the best way to reach you?
Probably the best way. I think, us old people like Facebook a lot. So in Facebook, we're Hawleywood Homes Real Estate. On Instagram, Hawleywood Stars, because that's the whole team. So we're all stars in there. But, there's so many ways. If you look up Hawleywood Homes Real Estate Team, it is like a million things that will come up with my face everywhere.
Awesome. Great. All right. Terrific. Thank you so much for joining us. And we look forward to speaking with you again in the future.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Have a good one.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.